For more analysis, we're joined from Cairo by Dr. Muhammad Osman, International Relations Specialist, and from Occupied Jerusalem by Dr. Abdel Nasser Mekki, Political Science Professor. Welcome to both of you, professors, and I will start with Dr. Osman. Now, Dr. Osman, many Arab governments have strongly rejected any schemes to forcibly displace the Palestinians from Gaza. Why do you believe such proposals are not only unacceptable but also a violation of international law?
Thank you for having me, Hannah. As you said, the calls for the forced displacement of Palestinians are a war crime and a crime against humanity in accordance with international law. This crime is called ethnic cleansing. This is what it's called, and it's one of the key components of the larger crime of genocide that is being committed in the Gaza Strip by the state of Israel. So any calls to implement any forced displacement scheme, whether partial or total, of the 2 million inhabitants of the Palestinian Gaza Strip is an act of ethnic cleansing, is a violation of the Geneva Convention, is a violation of the Rome Statute, which governs the activities of the International Criminal Court, and is also, of course, a grave violation of numerous international human rights treaties as well, including the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So we see that Israel is attempting to enforce these schemes with U.S. backing and trying to create the conditions on the ground to force the people of Gaza to be eager to leave their lands. I think that this is a great violation of international law. It's a war crime, and I think that the International Criminal Court should look into punishing any official who calls for the committing of an act of ethnic cleansing, and that is what it is, basically.
Dr. Mekki, Netanyahu has echoed Trump's calls for, and I quote, finishing the job in Gaza. How do you interpret this very important statement in the context of Israel's aggression and the ongoing fragile truce in Gaza?
Yes, the statement of Netanyahu about that he finished the job in the United States of America, that means he could succeed to persuade Trump in order to go ahead with his opinion and objectives that he want to beat Hamas, and also at the same time to attack Gaza. And after that, it will be not this round, but he will go ahead with the second stage of the negotiation until to reach their stages. But he was glad, and it was like a gift from Trump that he provided to Netanyahu about what his statement of Trump that he want to come to Gaza, and also at the same time he want to displacement of the Palestinian from Gaza, and also it's like he want to make attractive, that gift to the Palestinian in order to leave their home. This is give the Netanyahu like a gift, and he was very glad. While Netanyahu is a criminal, he should go to the ICC, but that Trump could give him the solution in order not to go to this court and the trial. So it was also that Netanyahu could come back to Israel and to keep in his coalition with Smotrich and the other, because as you know, Smotrich was threatened that he will leave this government if if Netanyahu didn't go and attack Gaza in the second round. But what he get from Trump is that much more than what he requested, is that Trump said that Gaza will be under the American, and also there will not be any Palestinian stay in Gaza. This is something very glad and very pleasant for Smotrich and also for Netanyahu.
Dr. Osman, with Israel and the United States proposing to own Gaza and remove the Palestinians, how can the rights of the Palestinian people be upheld and that Gaza remains for the Palestinians?
I think one of the key starting points in order to confront such schemes is creating a regional and an international unified stance to confront it and to resist it, basically. And I think this is what Egypt and Jordan have succeeded in mustering over the past days and weeks. They have secured complete Arab support and unconditional support for the rights of the Palestinian people, and an utter rejection of the displacement from the Arab League, from numerous Arab states, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Egypt, Qatar, and others. And also, they have secured the support of EU major states like France and Germany, who have voiced their complete opposition, and Britain as well. When we're speaking of the European sphere, and Australia. Russia today has released very strong statements deploring the idea of displacement of the Palestinians. So did China. So as we can see, there is a unified stance by the international community rejecting the displacement schemes. And of course, the United Nations as well will be opposed to such designs. So I believe that at the end of the day, part of the solution to confront and to convince the US administration that this is not the right course of action is through mastering a unified international stance against it, and a unified regional Arab stance against it. However, of course, this on its own will not suffice. The key component that will prevent this from happening, Hala, is the resilience of the Palestinian people, is the relentless effort to be attached to their lands, to never be compelled to leave their lands, no matter how much suffering they have to endure. Because if they leave, they will never be allowed back. History should not repeat itself. We should not have a second Nakba. In 1948, 700,000 Palestinians were promised that they can go back to their homes in historical Palestine. Until today, in 2025, in February 2025, they have not been allowed back, whether them or their, whoever remains of them, or their sons, or even grandchildren. So this, I believe, that the Palestinian people will never allow this to happen again. Never again.
Learning from history. Now, going back to you, Dr. Mekki, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has condemned any schemes to displace the Palestinians. What role should the international community play in ensuring that Palestinian rights are protected against such plans?
Well, first of all, we could see something on our internal issues before the international community. First of all, the Palestinian should be unity. All the Palestinians in Gaza, West Bank, all the factions, the Palestinian National Authority, all the Palestinian faction, Hamas and Jihad Islamic, should be have opinion in order to resist and rejected this this declaration from Trump, because this is not his home. And we are not Indian, we are Palestinian, and we are still stay in our home. And you know, the Palestinian in Gaza, they return back before 2 weeks, 700,000. They could walk and come back to there from the southern part to the northern part in Gaza. This is one thing. The internal issues, it should be strong, and also there should be leadership from the Palestinian with one voice against this declaration. The other thing about the international community, also the international community could back to all the resolution like 242 or 338, and also all the initiative, even from the Prince Abdullah initiative in the Arab League. All these initiatives and should be come back, and also should be the international community should give this to the Palestinians and provide them with assistance in order that they could be against the declaration of Trump, and also at the same time all the European Union and also Russia and China also, they should say in one voice that they against the forced displacement from the Palestinian from Gaza. You know that after Gaza, if it is come, it's go ahead, and I am suspect with this, because the Palestinian will refuse this, and even they will die in their land. Even this will come, this will be applied in the West Bank, and this is another story, because the Israeli government and the extreme government want West Bank much more than Gaza. They want to make their, you know, that traditional religious settlements here, and all these what they are believing in the West Bank, like Judea and Samaria, which is Yehuda and in Nablus and also in Hebron. So the international community could provide assistance to Palestinians by applying all the resolutions from 1967 or even from 1948, like 181 and also 2242 and 338. This is, I think, they could provide Palestinians with the assistance in this regard.
Dr. Osman, given the strong responses from the United Nations against Palestinian displacement schemes, how do you view the international community's response to these displacement plans?
I see that the response so far has been strong, at least vocally, in terms of releasing statements and expressing the rejection of such schemes and plans. As I said before,
schemes or plots. I wouldn't call them plans.
Excuse me?
I would call them schemes or plots, not
yes,
plans.
There are indeed plots and schemes, sinister plans.
Yes.
If that makes it sound better. And I think that at the end of the day, the idea that the international community so far has rejected these designs is a positive indicator. As I said before, countries like Germany, France, Russia, the entirety of the Arab world have rejected. Australia, Britain have rejected these displacement plans. And I think, and the UN does, of course, but at the end of the day, this on its own will never suffice. Because unfortunately, none of these actors, especially the Europeans and the Western general and even the Russians and the Chinese, no one is willing to take any punitive action against Israel in order to deter them from this course of action. No one is willing to jeopardize their relationship with the United States and the Trump administration in order to stop this course of action, unfortunately. So it falls upon the Palestinian people and the Arab world to stop this. If we do not take a stand against it, no one will. And we are taking a stand, a unified stand, and I think that we will remain steadfast and we will keep on resisting these sinister plans and these sinister designs. And they will never succeed as long as the Palestinian people do not allow them to succeed. And as Dr. Abdel Nasser said, an internal expedient reconciliation of the Palestinian faction is of the essence. The Palestinians have to reunite. The Fatah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad should be all under the umbrella of the PLO and the Palestinian Authority in order for the unified Palestinian front to be united as one against these sinister plans.
Dr. Makki, we're still talking about the United Nations, which has condemned the Palestinian displacement proposal, calling it unlawful and a violation of international law. So how can the international community hold Israel accountable for promoting such actions?
I think the international community could bridge on Israelis, like, that they could use and rejected all the Trump declaration for this matter, and also at the same time they could condemn, that all the Israeli crimes in Gaza, and they could consider this all the crimes should go to the ICC, and in the same time also they could try to punish all the Israeli leaders who are participated on this genocide in Gaza by sending them like memorandum to the ICC, and also to preventing them to go outside. Otherwise, they will be punished or they will be arrested. This is the international community could consider them as a crime, because what they did in Gaza, it's a crimes. When you kill the people, the women, when you that's prevent the people to from the food, lack of water, and also at the same time to bomb them and to kill the women and the children, and all this, it's under the crimes, that element. So I think the international community, if he has this willing to stop all these things and this genocide, I think he have many tools in order to punish Israel. One of them is to send, that all these criminals to the ICC and to provide, as you know, prevent them to go outside of Israel. So it seems that the Israeli leaders could be isolation, and also at the same time the international community by their states like European Union, China, Russia, also they could maybe to threaten Israel to boycott them. Otherwise, if they didn't change their behavior in Gaza.
Dr. Osman, you also mentioned that many nations, including those in the European Union, Russia, other nations, England, have expressed their opposition to forcing Palestinians out of Gaza. So what steps should these countries take to prevent this from becoming a reality if they decided to take any steps?
I think one of the practical steps they can take is supporting the reconstruction efforts. Egypt will soon hold an international conference backed by the United Nations on the reconstruction of the war-torn Gaza Strip, which has been annihilated by the Israeli war machine. I think that the reconstruction will need a huge amount of funds. It's estimated that it will cost from around $50 to $100 billion in order to restore the infrastructure of the Gaza Strip in terms of housing and basic services. And I think one of the strong steps that can be taken by the international community is to actively participate and contribute financially to the funding of the reconstruction. Germany, France, Russia, Arab countries, some Arab countries, these are very wealthy nations and they have a lot to provide. And I think that this will be the strongest response to displacement schemes, because what the Trump administration is basing the displacement scheme on is that Gaza has become, according to President Trump, a demolition site, an inhabitable land. However, we have the only way to deny this assumption is to actually reconstruct the Gaza Strip. And before that, of course, they have to exercise maximum amount of pressure for the maintenance of the ceasefire and ensuring that Israel will not resume its hostilities and its war of aggression against the Palestinian people. If the international community wants to do anything beyond the statements of solidarity, I think that will be an appropriate course of action to take that will be practical and effective.
Dr. Makki, some experts argue that displacing Palestinians would only deepen the humanitarian crisis. What legal and moral obligations do the international community and the United Nations have to prevent such violations?
Yes, I think the international community, they could provide, the assistance for the Palestinian from the international law. I think they could, send a message to the Israeli that what they are doing it's like a kind of genocide, killing the people, preventing them from movement, starvation, and also at the same time, the international community, as that they should also provide the assistance to Palestinians in order to stay in their home. This is one thing. If they want the Palestinian not to go parallel with what Trump is, that suggests by his declaration, is that to provide the Palestinian with assistance in order to stay in their land. And also provide advices to the Palestinians, even for the Palestinian Authority, about how they could deal with these crimes, to go to the ICC, provide them with all legal assistance. So from the humanitarian, one thing is to provide them with all the assistance in order to stay in their home, because what Trump want, or what he said, is that Gaza will not be sufficient for life, and at the same time provide them with the legal assistance against Israel. So this is, I think, the two things could be parallel in the same time.
Dr. Osman, given the widespread rejection of the displacement plots from both Arab governments and international institutions, why do you think Israel continues to push for such a dangerous and divisive policy?
Because Israel has always enjoyed, since its inception, impunity provided by the United States and even the collective West. as long as they can be rest assured that and guaranteed that they will always evade any sort of accountability, they will always behave in this irresponsible manner. Israel has committed a variety of violations of international law since its inception. I think no country in the world has systemically violated international law for such a long period of time as much as Israel has done since 1948. They have committed ethnic cleansing in 1948. They have committed a war of aggression wars of aggression in 1956 and 1967. And for the entirety of their history, they have been building illegal settlements inside the West Bank, subjecting the Gaza Strip to military occupation, and then after withdrawal to a vicious blockade and to various wars of aggression. And now they are subjecting the Gaza Strip to genocide and destroying the West Bank through a coordinated military operations to displace the Palestinians from some parts of the West Bank. So as you can see, this trend of violations is only strengthened by the impunity provided by the United States. The moment the impunity is not there anymore, the moment Israel is not immune to accountability anymore, maybe then we will see different results.
Yes. I'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Osman, International Relations Specialist, and Dr. Abdel Nasser Mekki, Political Science Professor. Thank you both for joining us here in Q News and for your valuable insights.